with the Kansas City Chiefs losing to the Las Vegas Raiders on Christmas Day, it really brought the season down. And frankly, I'm at a point right now where I don't even know what the point of Christmas is. Like, why even celebrate anything on a day if the Chiefs can't even beat the Raiders?
Well, Josh, you actually have to check out Philippians 2 and Romans 3 to really bring you back to what Luke chapter 2 is all about.
You know what?
Lord.
What? Never mind. I'm actually ready to do the show. Only Weird Games.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
We'll pass the collection plate today, and maybe we can see if the Chiefs want to use it on a wide receiver. Welcome in to Only Weird Games. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and Nate Taylor with you here the day after Christmas and the day after the Chiefs fall at Arrowhead to the Raiders, a team that is based in Las Vegas that had to fly across a couple time zones to play a game on the road at noon or 10 o'clock their time on Christmas Day. That's all stuff that happens that you, dear listener, probably know. Seth, you and I, we talk plenty, but we got a text a little bit earlier where Nate said he had something for the people. And Nate, I'm not going to hold the people back. I want to know what you got for the people.
Every now and then, fellas, it's my job to, of course, rewatch the game. I'm going to be very explicit. If you have children in the car listening to the podcast, if you're with someone who doesn't mind cursing, I just want to give you a heads up right now.
It's about to get PG-14 in here. It's the one above PG-13.
Yeah, so I go to Starbucks. Give me a nice little coffee. Okay. All right, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna shower. I'm gonna take care of my mentals. I'm gonna come downstairs. I'm gonna look Emily Wright, my sister-in-law, right in the eye, and I'm gonna say, you know what? Fuck it, let's do it. Let's watch this shit. Let's rewatch this shit. Because that's what it is, kids. It's utter shit. Everybody knows exactly probably what I'm talking about, but the text I had, and now the children can listen back to the show. The text I had for the fellas, Tucker,
kids that are just rejoining, you may be wondering what you missed. Nate's getting cold next year, so that's but don't even worry about it. Go ahead.
Right. Again, I want people to understand that when I curse on this show, it is for an added benefit to you because it so rarely happens. I texted the fellas, Tucker, Josh, and Seth. All right, guys, I got a stale take, a lukewarm take, and a hot take.
Are
we ready, fellas?
I'm so
Do we
ready,
get to
man.
pick the order, or are you going to go in increasing levels?
I'm going to go increasingly hot. So here's the stale take that you've heard over and over that I just want to reemphasize here. Josh, can someone remind Andy Reid and Matt Nagy who their best skill position player is?
Do they need that?
I think they do, because they are not calling plays for Travis Kelce anymore. And it's really absurd and bizarre. And I just want to remind them that you are the person who came up with the gorgeous, coachable soundbite. We don't establish the run. We establish the Kelce. They don't do that anymore. And that is obviously the case too against the Patriots, who you knew they were going to double team him. The Raiders did less doubling of Kelce from what I could surmise both in the press box and rewatching the game. But they need to establish the Kelce, because when they actually scored a touchdown in the first half, guess who had the biggest play of the drive?
Well, doesn't it count if you just snap the ball and throw it immediately to him horizontally and do that multiple times in a row?
Let's not do that in the red zone when we have no space to operate within.
Interesting. Or to like the near side of the field.
Yeah, that too. And let's not do it 2 times in a row. Like, again in the red zone. Let's not do that.
Did that not feel passive aggressive? Just to like, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's like, fine,
No.
fine. You want the ball? You want the ball, Trav? Fine. Here you go.
It's what you do.
8 tackles.
It's what the 14-year-old quarterback does to his 9-year-old brother in the backyard when he's like, "Throw me the ball." It's like, "Fine, you want the ball? You want the ball? Gotcha."
Yeah.
Okay.
I know this because I was 14 when my brother was 9.
Here's the lukewarm take, everybody. Somebody's got to sit Patrick Mahomes down, and I'm gonna remove the player out of the equation, out of the discussion. If it's Andy Reid, great. If it's Matt Nagy, perfect. It's probably a role more for Matt Nagy than Andy Reid, I would think. If it's got to be David Girardi, fine. Hey, you're a first-time quarterbacks coach. We theoretically think you spend the most time with Patrick, but somebody's got to sit down with Patrick from the coaching staff and say, "Look, I know you don't like him. I know he has let you down multiple times. I know you don't trust him, but damn it, he's out there, guys. Pat, he's out there. You know who I'm talking about. Does anybody know who I'm talking about in the comments? I don't care. I don't care. He's out there. Is he healthy? Is he fast? Does he have a WR next to his name? Patrick, I know you don't like him right now because
The comments know too.
Because your actions say such. But guys, I'll rewatch this tape. And there's 3, perhaps 4 plays where Marquez Valdes-Scantling is open downfield. And you know how many times Patrick looked at him? 0. 0. 0 times. Now, the most egregious one, in my belief, is one of the few times that the pocket is established. It is the correct play call. So, again, this is one of the few times that the offensive line and the coaching staff did a good job. They are playing cover 3. Patrick knows this. He decides to trust Justin Watson. He throws a not good pass because it 2 hops to Justin Watson. They're on their deep end of the field. It is a clear over route to what? Beat cover 3. And who runs the deep over? Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And he doesn't even look that direction. He just stays on his initial read. He feels a little bit of pressure, even though there is no pressure on this actual play, and then he skips it to Justin Watson. Look, man, I know he was offsides, and I know when you threw him the ball, the one time in his direction, he didn't really go for the ball. Was it a perfect pass? No. Did he one-arm it, alligator, give up on it? Yeah. But Seth, tell me which wide receiver was on the field the most in yesterday's game?
Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
The lukewarm take that you're just going to have to take, you got to throw him the ball. You have to throw him the ball again. You're playing 11 on 9 because they don't have to guard him because they know you don't trust him. And one of the few times he's actually open downfield this season, you didn't even give him a shot. Now, I know this is coming off the heels of the Eagles game and coming off the heels of why you running into the safety, dog, against the Packers. But you don't have McCole Hardman. You don't have Kadarius Toney, who doesn't even run deep routes. You don't even have I mean, they have no more options. Maybe McCole comes back. Maybe Sky Moore's not even on the field anymore, guys. He's not in uniform.
You can't blame Sky Moore anymore.
This is who you
I'm
got.
not saying he's blameless.
Right, but this is who you got. You have a number 2 receiver in Justin Watson. You have a number 1 receiver in Rashee Rice. God bless him. He still makes rookie mistakes, by the way, which I'm sure infuriate Patrick to this day. Yeah,
Mahomes holding his hands up and the universal sign for bring your hands up to catch the football gave me
it's
unhappy Christmas feelings.
I gotta ask. So it was a deep over against cover 3. Do you remember when it was? Because I don't have the all 22 yet. And I've got one group screaming in my ear that Mahomes is missing open receivers all over the place. I got another group screaming in my ear that nobody's open ever. And I don't have the film yet. It is making me a little bit crazy.
It's on the spider cam if you rewatch it from the CBS broadcast. Let me give you the play-by-play here, Seth.
Yes.
It's in the second half, I believe. Let me do Watson real quick.
Sounds like somebody has
it's late
better tech than I do.
That's what I was just thinking. He's typing.
It's late third quarter, 3rd and 9 from the Kansas City 20.
Yeah.
It says in the box score, it says deep, incomplete to Justin Watson. Ball never's on time. Ball is late. Ball is short. But Marquez Valdez-Scantling is coming wide open because the corner sits on the whatever the initial route is on the left side of the field to Mahomes. Marquez is running from left to right on the deep over, and he's there, and he never looks that direction, and he never anticipates that Marquez is coming open, which again is something about a psychological sort of, and this is going to get to a bigger point later in the show that I have, but it's a point of like someone has to sit down and show Patrick these plays. Hey man, I know nothing was perfect yesterday, but we put him on the field 60 snaps, and he's our most experienced receiver. Those are the facts. So if he's out there, you got to use him so that we can continue to spread the ball around so we don't become even more and more predictable. Because if you don't use him, you are becoming less unpredictable, and you're in fact becoming more predictable, which is exactly what the Raiders sort of exploited for much of the second half. There's nothing in the second half that surprises the Raiders, and that is shocking and an indictment on the entire offensive coaching staff. But that's just the lukewarm take.
That was the lukewarm one, man.
Here, hang on. If I could, so this. Thank you for telling me the spider cam was there.
Yes.
So pre-snap, and this is just it's about like 260, about 3 minutes left.
Yes, 3 minutes left.
In
Yes.
the third quarter. So the Raiders pre-snap showed cover 2 man.
Yes.
Okay. And so after the snap, they rotate a safety down into kind of a robber roll. They drop into a zone. Where they're trying to smother everything intermediate.
Correct.
And they drop one man into single high. And Mahomes, I don't know. He
never looks.
This is such an interesting thing. I don't know if he knew, if he sees them drop into this, and if he makes up his mind in advance.
Correct.
Now, this is still a missed shot, by the way.
Yeah.
Like anyone that thinks Nate doesn't know ball, Nate knows ball.
Yes.
This is a missed shot because the pocket's good. Watson doesn't have separation. There's some sight adjustment he thinks Watson is going to make here.
Correct.
And he trusts on 3rd and 9.
Correct.
Justin Watson to make a sight adjustment.
Yes.
So much. And here's the interesting thing about this as well. And this is going to go into something that I think, by the way, what I'm saying about Mahomes, this isn't an excuse. This is a reason. There's
Correct.
a difference because Mahomes should have seen this. I don't think he trusted the play to hold up if he didn't 3 steps, throw. He does not trust the play to hold up, even though it totally did.
Yeah.
And this is where the problems come. This is where you get to that chicken and egg thing, to where if you've been let down, whether it's by the line, whether by that receiver, suddenly you're antsy. You got to get the ball out or move to creation mode. And that's less than ideal because so the Raiders, they rotate into a single high with zone coverage underneath. Is that, you know what? I'm not going to get too heavy into that.
No, it's fine because ultimately, what you should know by that point in the game is they are sitting on every short and intermediate route.
Yep. This is a really similar coverage look to a couple of the times that he hit MVS on deep overs in the AFC Championship game.
Yes.
Because it's not even about MVS being incredible. It's just he crosses the face of the deep safety and will be open down the field. And you can, because there's no one else back there.
No one.
You can hang the ball way to the right and just let him run to it.
Yes.
So
yes, Lord. Yes.
This is with an average throw is a huge gain. With a good throw, it's a touchdown.
So, Patrick, he's healthy.
Got to throw the ball.
He's not gonna be on IR. We don't assume. He's not going to. He's one of their most durable players this season. Like, he's healthy. He can still run fast. I know he's dropped passes. I know he never fights for the ball. And I understand psychologically as a quarterback, how can I trust you when you never high point a ball, you never fight for a ball, you never adjust the way I want you to adjust, or I'm going to adjust it the way I want you to, as much as I would like, and also catch the ball. So I also get why he doesn't look that way, but somebody on the coaching staff has to sit Patrick down and say, he's still one of our best receivers. And he blacked out.
And we're sorry.
And we're sorry.
Look, our bad. We made a bet, but he's out there. And on a side note, the reason his snap count shot through the roof is Tony and Moore were both out, and the snaps had to go somewhere. You can't give Rashee Rice 170% of the snaps.
No, you cannot.
Now, you could run 12 the whole time and, whatever. But whatever. No one cares what I have to say about these things.
Seth, they couldn't run 12 because they couldn't block anybody.
That's also true.
Are we ready for the hot take?
I'm excited for the hot take.
The reason I call this a hot take, everybody, is because it's not going to happen, okay? I know this coaching staff. They will not do what I'm about to say, okay?
You were about to say something they absolutely should do, I can tell.
They ain't going to do it.
I'm pre-mad.
They're not going to do it, okay? That's why it's a hot take, okay? Lukewarm is, it could happen. It could happen. A stale take is, should probably do it, and you know that. We know that. Just give Kelce more opportunities instead of just expecting him to be double teamed the entire time. Because guess what, kids? He's not double teamed all the time. And instead, you're using Travis Kelce to chip block. They've already won the down before the down started because he's chip blocking. What are we doing? Okay, I know I'm angry, but this is all based off this is all logical. This is not like fandom or anything. This is just like, I can see how crummy this game was. It's probably the worst game plan offensively they've had all season from a coaching standpoint.
Yep.
For the hot take, I'm going to start by referencing the Athletic Football Show with my great friend, Robert Mays, and my dear lad, Nate Tice. Their episode came out this morning. I would highly encourage you to listen to it because there's a point when they review every week that they're saying, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
I don't want to listen to this.
And of course, the first thing is about the Chiefs offense.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. What Nate Tice says, that is the most critical thing I've heard all year from any analyst, is they are the most undisciplined collection of skill position players I've ever seen. Guys, he's talking about y'all. He's talking about you guys. And I noticed this too yesterday, and then it became even more apparent when I rewatched the game. They're not going to do it, guys. But just line up and play. Yeah. Get out of the huddle, line up, and play. This pre-snap motion, they can't do it consistently. They're coming out of the huddle too late. It's fourth down, and Richie James doesn't know where he's going.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Pacheco, okay. I love the first play design. Love the first trick play design because guess what? You don't have to give the ball to anybody.
Yes, it was all window dressing.
It's all window dressing.
Isaiah Pacheco took a snap and took off, and everything else was an illusion.
Gave a little pitch back to Mahomes because he's a legitimate threat as a quarterback, obviously. I really think that play is initially designed for Jerick McKinnon because Jerick McKinnon has shown a better ability to hand the ball off as a former quarterback from college and high school. Even though Isaiah Pacheco played quarterback in high school,
everyone played quarterback in high school. These guys are freaks. Like
he's not really good on the handoff exchange when he's not the one receiving the handoff. And of course, I asked multiple guys in the locker room. They all gave the same answer. The ball is supposed to be handed off to Patrick Mahomes for that trick play. And we're going to get to that later. But just line up and play. When they got into a hurry-up offense or a semi-hurry-up offense where they just lined up and went, they actually had success. But when they come out of the huddle late, when the play call is coming in late, which again, is a reflection of Matt Nagy and Andy Reid, either who's making the decision and who's relaying the play call. Again, I think it's the same way in the past, but like in the past, it was Andy Reid making the call or saying, or just foregoing to be enemy because I want to look at something else further on in the drive, or hey, I want to get to something else. So you have second down. I'm already sort of thinking about the third down play call if we come to that, right? But usually it was Andy to be enemy to Patrick. I don't know if that's still the case. I believe it is. I'll double check that this week. That it now goes from Andy to Matt Nagy to Patrick Mahomes. But they were late all day. And then they break the huddle late all day. And then we have a misalignment.
This is new, by the way. This hasn't been the case all
at any
season.
point. At any point.
Like, or at any point.
It's new. It's new within the last like 2 years. I tweeted, it made me nostalgic in a bad way, though. We have seen this devolve into call the play.
Yes.
It's just been a few years.
Right. And look, Patrick has frustration because, and we said this earlier, there's plays where he says four over here.
Yes.
He doesn't line up correctly.
Right.
Or hey,
and that is okay. Hey, why isn't Rashee Rice their number one receiver the same way Juju was last year? Do you remember one time that happened? And look, is Rashee Rice? I talked about this earlier today for RGR football because I'm everywhere. Are Rashee Rice and Juju Smith-Schuster maybe overall equivalent at wide receiver in a vacuum? Like if a team were picking, I want this guy or I want this guy, they might pick Rashee Rice. This Chiefs team, with its particular needs, would take last year's version of Juju Smith-Schuster all day. Mm-hmm. And that's not a denigration of Rashee Rice, who I think might end up being a better player. But he's basically, this is why Andy Reid has his wide receivers on this 2-year plan, because when he's forced to accelerate, dude's like, he just doesn't know. He's drinking water through a fire hose. Mm-hmm. And that's something Smith-Schuster is excellent at. And that's why he adapted so quickly in Reid's offense year one. I'm sorry to co-opt, but it's such a good point because you see it multiple snaps where Mahomes is like, dude, left.
So here's the point, guys. It don't matter if they're playing man or zone. It don't matter. You know what the Raiders said yesterday? They can't throw deep. So if they can't throw deep, it doesn't matter what. Okay, come to me, come back, Clyde. Hey, Travis, sink down into your actual slot position so we kind of get a tell if it's man. It don't matter if it's man or zone. Line up and move somebody off the ball. They have gotten to a point now where I think that they probably have to. I mean, again, it's week 16. They have to go to simplification, and the easiest way to simplify things is to read the play, exchange the play, line up and play. Because it didn't matter what you showed the Raiders yesterday. Now the Raiders played a little bit more man than zone in the first half. Then they went back to their traditional zone because they were up 2 touchdowns because they didn't expect you to throw the ball deep or complete a deep pass, I should say, because they're getting pressure throughout much of the first half. So all that pre-snap motion, it doesn't do anything. It didn't actually help Patrick yesterday. It actually made things more complicated. And because, shout out to Richie James, he had a very good game, but 4th and 1, gotta have it. We have to call a timeout. We just have to, because I called a play and there's a moment of hesitation or not realizing where you're supposed to go. And we can't have that. It's Christmas. The playoffs is even going to be a more heightened situation. So you can look at the box score and say, man, Richie James deserves more snaps. And he does. But also, can you line up and do the pre-snap motion?
And this is the price you pay for an offense that is predicated on timing and spacing. And when it works,
it looks beautiful.
We've watched it.
Oh, of course. It looks beautiful.
It is gorgeous. And that offensive setup with a guy like a Juju Smith-Schuster is part of why the sum can be bigger than the sum of its parts, right? The overall. And that's Andy Reid did that for years. There's a reason why he didn't really go all in on a receiver until finally they're like, okay, we need something. And then they got T.O. and their offense blew up. But Andy Reid has always said, if I give me guys who will be in the right place at the right time, and I will get them open. And for a lot of his career, he's been very correct.
But they're not going to do it, Seth. They're not going to change. They're not going to change. Josh, you know it. First play of the game against the Cincinnati Bengals is going to involve probably some element of motion or shift pre-snap, and whether they execute it or not is really up to them. They had the worst 2 opening drive sequence in the history of Patrick Mahomes' tenure playing inside Arrowhead Stadium. There's no crowd noise. There's no, you know who you're playing. It's a common opponent. They don't block anybody. There's a blocking miscue on 6 straight plays to start the game.
That was so bad.
I mean, what are we doing? We can't. Hey, let's establish a run. Well, we can't do that because tight end missed a block here. All of a sudden, we're asking Jawan Taylor to come across the line of scrimmage. He's late. Hey, we're asking for just a quick drop back. Whoops, there goes, Mason Crosby, and whoa, there goes the other guy who's gonna have 3 sacks today. Surprisingly, they had again a blocking mishap on 6 straight plays to start the game. It's impossible. Yeah,
that'll probably get better with no Jerick McKinnon for the rest of the year, and Isaiah Pacheco potentially not being out there.
And that reminds me, and that's a great explanation, a great point, Josh, because the cavalry is not coming. No. They're losing people more than they're gaining them at this point. I don't know if Donovan Smith comes back into the equation just because Wanye Morris finally had a game where he looked like a rookie left tackle. But man, did Max Crosby just eat him alive. And
that was a really, really rough matchup. I mean,
and he knew it. And look, and I give credit to Wanye Morris. He's one of the few players who talked to us after the game. He knew it. He's like, yeah, I got to get better. But also, yeah, man, you're a rookie. Of course they're going to there's tape now, and they're starting
inside move,
and they're
over.
They're starting to figure you out, and hey, even though you did the right job on pushing the defensive ends wide, your quarterback's mind is discombobulated. And so overall, fellas, we can mark it down. It took Christmas, but they actually broke Patrick Mahomes' mental. They actually broke him mentally for the first time all season yesterday. It took the 15th game in a 17-game season for events to occur where Patrick tried everything, and because he tried everything, he lost his mind. And I don't mean that in like a lunatic, crazy manner. I just mean he stopped making consistent, good decisions down in, down out. He was all over the place because the entire offense is kind of broken around him. And because the offense is broken around him, and because they don't simplify anything, because why would they? It doesn't make anything easy on the quarterback. So the quarterback lost his mind, and he will never admit it publicly, probably. He'll probably say tomorrow that there were some throws he missed, some reads he missed, and that's all true. But the reason they lost that game was because the entire offense finally reached Patrick. So everybody else's bad performance leads to his bad performance. And if that happens, they got no shot to beat anybody because Aiden O'Connell didn't complete a pass for 3 quarters.
Right. It's worth noting. I've had people talk about, the Patriots are a better defense than the Raiders by a pretty long shot.
Yes.
What in the world? Well, the reality is I charted every snap by Mahomes. Mahomes had one questionably bad play against the Patriots. Was just unbelievable. And sure, when Mahomes is unbelievable, the offense looks good enough. I don't even know if I'd call it good.
Yeah,
it's decent. When Mahomes is playing out of his mind, it always used to be, and I fell into this before the season. I said Mahomes is the ceiling. When Mahomes plays out of his mind, they move the ball. That's no longer necessarily the case, and I think that's part of where things are breaking down for him. And again, I got to review the all-22. I don't know how many missed shots there are. I don't know. But one thing that I did see...
Let me tell you something. There's plenty. There's plenty. Again, first time in the press box this year where I said, what is he doing? Again, the first time all season I go...
The second half especially.
What is he doing? Hey, Justin Watson's open. Nah, man. tucking and going, baby. Tucking and going. My mind's made up. I'm crazy.
And that's the second half especially. You could see him, he'd hit that back foot, and if he did not love what he saw,
gotta go.
It goes immediately into creation mode.
Yep.
And that's, to me, when you talk about like someone being broken mentally, and look, by the way, people, like, it is still Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
he's had. Everyone's like, oh, it's the worst game of his career. Man, that 2021 Titans game was a real bad.
Oh God. But that could happen in the postseason. Just saying.
Yeah,
but
it could.
But Josh, I'm not saying he's broken. He's still relatively healthy. Still can throw the ball excellent. I think there was some wind yesterday that both affected him and Aiden O'Connell in the passing game. Which again, coaching probably should have adjusted to that. Which is why it's funny that like Antonio Pierce was like, so we don't have our best receiver because L'Jarius Sneed continues to punch him in the face. Chris Jones exists, so we really shouldn't. And it's windy. We really shouldn't pass the ball a lick. And it's windy. It's kind of wet. The ball's kind of slippery. Obviously, we saw the ball squirt around, squirt. Several times in the first quarter. I mean, how many times is this ball going to squirt out? Oh, it squirted again. Oh.
Yeah, I honest to goodness, the ball in the first like 5 minutes of gameplay was it
on water? What was it?
Yeah, like I was genuinely like, did someone like put it in water?
Yeah, it was the slime, guys. It was on Nickelodeon.
Oh,
it was the
Nickelodeon.
slime.
Yeah,
it was the slime.
Those darn kids.
And so the big thing, the thing I really wanted to make sure people understand, because we've already got a comment like, oh, it's dramatic to say broken mentally. We don't mean for good. Sorry.
Just for yesterday. No.
Just for yesterday. For one game. And by broken, it's the frustration level reaches a point to where it is.
He stops doing fundamentals. He stops looking at the entire field. He starts making up his mind before the play starts. He starts criticizing guys in the middle of the play, to Josh's point. He's throwing his hands up to a receiver to remind him to like turn with your hands up, because I'm trying to get the timing right. It's moments where he tells the offensive line, hey, dog, play better. And then the offensive line magically plays better. And I stopped the clip multiple times. And I said, Emily, is that a good pocket? Emily, is that good? Shout out to Emily Wright, my sister-in-law. Is that a good pocket? Why is he leaving the pocket? Because his mind is blown, guys. He can't do it anymore.
He doesn't trust the offense at this point.
Anybody.
Guys, at least in that game.
Anybody.
Yeah, he'll reset.
So
he'll reset, but that second half was rough.
Okay, guys, think about this really hard. When was the last touchdown pass that he threw that was within structure?
The slant to Rice against the Vikings? I don't know.
No, I would say the shallow cross to Rice against the Raiders.
It's the Raiders, I guess. Wow, yeah.
Guys, they are not succeeding within structure. They are succeeding because they have the best quarterback on earth, and yet he can only do so much because he's a human being who feels things. And right now he feels frustrated because them giving up back-to-back touchdowns. Jerick McKinnon versus the Patriots. Incredible comment, Jacob. Incredible comment, Jacob Miller. Well, you do know Jerick McKinnon tossed it to Rasheed Rice against the Patriots.
Yeah.
That was in structure, but I didn't say Jerick McKinnon.
No, it wasn't.
I said Patrick Mahomes.
But it doesn't matter, Nate. It wasn't in structure. They changed
It's
it in the
huddle.
Which is maybe, you guys remember when I felt like an old man last week? Because I was like, hey guys, maybe don't be changing plays on the fly. Hey, Isaiah Pacheco, hand the ball to Patrick Mahomes if that's the play.
This, guys, it's so it's utterly hilarious because you watch the Ravens and the 49ers last night and you're like, that's some good football right there.
What sport is this?
I don't even care that one team's getting blown out because of some interesting turnover, misluck, and the Ravens doing their best impression of Steve Spagnuolo. I was like, oh, that's what it would look like. Chiefs versus the 49ers. Blitz them to hey, we just gave him a 40-yard pass to Kittle. Blitz again. See what happened. But like, hey, these are two functional offenses, even though one is turning the ball over, at an extreme rate. All I'm saying is, guys, they're not going to change. They're not going to change. They're not going to simplify things. Maybe somebody sits Patrick's down and says, hey, let's design something for MVS in the first 15 against the Cincinnati Bengals. I would actually encourage them to do that, because can you get the Bengals out of playing just jump everything coverage? Like Justin Watson said something yesterday that I thought was hilarious, which is just like, no, they were jumping everything.
Okay, so this brings me to something I've been dying to ask both of you, because I haven't gotten further than my own watching of the game and just seeing people tweet about it. So we had a comment earlier along these lines.
Okay.
Seth, why, as you tweeted, did it look like the Raiders were picking the right play in Tecmo Bowl constantly? Because I saw, again, there was a comment along these lines, and I thought the same thing. Like, if you found out that the Raiders hired, like, Connor Stallions a week ago, I would be like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because it felt like they knew what was coming. Mm-hmm. And in addition to all of the other, like, individual positional coaching stuff, they got absolutely thumped by, not that Pierce isn't going to keep the head coaching job or isn't deserving of it, but they got thumped by an interim head coach on a team that should have quit like 5 weeks ago. How does that?
Also,
I don't know. Are we seeing things?
Also, a coach who realized, hey man, my quarterback ain't got it today, and he don't even have his best skill position player because he's been smothered by L'Jarius Sneed. You know what? Run the ball again. Do we have a lead? If the question is yes, we run the ball.
Right.
Do we have a lead? Run it.
I just don't understand how that happens. Like, for all of the intangible coaching stuff, that feels like a tangible, like, hey, coaches, what'd you guys do this week?
So it's also worth noting that it was against a team.
Oh, Seth, sorry, hold on one second. We gotta take a break.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Perfect. I almost didn't do it, and I almost didn't do it as a Christmas gift, but then I thought, how disappointed would our already very sad listeners be if I didn't do it? So that's what I did.
So
yes, Eric. They didn't have Josh Jacobs either.
Oh yeah.
We hey, coach, we don't have Josh Jacobs. We don't have we don't have Adams. I mean, he's on the field, but like, he don't really want to be out there.
Seth, Your Honor,
let's throw a deep ball. Let's throw a deep ball to Jacoby Myers. Hey, Jalen Watson made a hell of a play. Damn.
That was awesome.
All right, let's run the ball. Run it. Do we have a lead? Then run it, son. Go ahead, Seth. They call the right play on Tecmo Bowl 98% of the time.
Yeah. I think people need to note that this is against a Raiders team that just a few weeks ago was by far, I think, the most overall functional the Chiefs offense has looked. And that includes against the Patriots, where they were shooting themselves in the foot more. They moved the ball well against the Raiders a few weeks ago. It was as functional as they looked. And, you know, Rice had a big game. Kelce had a good game. And what the Raiders were largely doing isn't super complicated. And I want to be cautious here because I don't want to oversimplify, but I will a little bit. It really is a matter of they're not afraid of something coming out over the top. And that, when I say that, that is not just an indictment of the Chiefs wide receiver group. That's an indictment of the offensive line, because the first like 2 or 3 drives, did that look like a team that was going to dial up deep shots? Because I mean, the offensive line, they would snap the ball, and this got a lot better in the second half. Like, if you transpose the way the offensive line played, honestly, the first play after getting yelled at by Mahomes was a disaster. But after that, they really did kind of tighten up for a while. Had they done that initially, I'm curious what the game looks like. But the first couple steps, it's like the O-line like vanished at the snap. And so you're not going to take deep shots in those situations because you know you're not going to have that opportunity, because the Chiefs don't have a, 1, 2, 3 throw, or even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step throw, deep ball guy. They might, but their quarterback doesn't throw to them, and for good reason. So when I say they're not worried over the top, that is not just about the wide receiver room. And that's where I think I'm going to keep hammering this point over and over and over again. This is not just about the wide receiver room. Yes, would a lot of it look fixed if you threw in a couple of good receivers or one great receiver, right? Would a lot of it look fixed? Yes, but that's only because you would have compensation for the things that are going wrong. That's what happened in 20 and 21. They're not worried about getting beaten over the top. And so what you do essentially, and Nate said it really well here, it doesn't really matter whether you're playing man, zone, or some form of match. If you know you can line up approximately 5 to 7 yards away and just get ready to jump routes. And all you need is one guy over the top. You can flood zones and you can really get on top of any route they're going to run, especially if you know that the line might not hold up or the quarterback won't be patient enough to wait for, I don't know, mesh to develop, for guys to run their crossers, for, something that's a little more of a long developing route. That's a problem. And I'm really curious. Someone Cody just had a good comment. Lou will own this offense if they look like this. I'm curious what Lou's thinking watching this, because Cincy's defense has been bad.
Yeah, really bad.
But if there's a template there, and what's frustrating for me, just on a side note, is they started out the game throwing the ball down the field against the Patriots, and they did it, one to Gray. I think you had one to Watson. I can't remember, but they have to be able to push the ball down the field, even if it's not working. But the problem is that there's a myriad of things that are getting in the way, and it's not just the receivers at this point. Now, you can talk about, okay, it's Mahomes. Mahomes is playing this way because of the receivers. Sure, maybe that's the reason, but the reason doesn't really matter ultimately in the moment, right? It doesn't matter why Mahomes didn't see MVS. It really doesn't matter why. All that matters is he didn't and probably should have. And now, then that's where these guys aren't robots. If you're Patrick Mahomes and you've dropped back and there's one guy, they're like, well, yeah, if they rotate to cover 3, but you know what? This other guy has come through at least half the time when I've thrown to him. And that's Justin Watson on this roster. Like, maybe even more so. I'd be willing to bet if someone threw Wonder Woman's lasso of truth around Patrick Mahomes and asked him who he trusts more, Justin Watson or Rashee Rice, I would bet you he said Justin Watson, even though Rashee Rice is obviously a better player, because he doesn't have to tell Justin Watson where to line up.
True.
And again, Rice is a good player who I think I'm seeing little things in some of his stuff against man, and some of the things that I think he's going to be able to develop as a route runner. But it's not, they dialed up on the gotta have it down. They dialed up a one-on-one matchup to him. And he's not a man coverage separator, but he's a rookie. He's drinking hose. He doesn't always know where he's going. He's like, I bet Justin will make this adjustment because he's done it at least a third time.
And let's say this real quick. He's played in all 15 games, Rashee Rice, as a rookie. He has 811 yards and 7 touchdowns. That is undeniably a successful rookie season.
Really good.
Undeniably. It's you could almost say it's an above average to like almost exceptional season, based on the fact that, as Seth says, he had to take on more of a workload, more of a responsibility as the season moved along, especially in the second half. But like 74 receptions for 811 yards, 7 touchdowns. It's an awesome rookie season.
It's a great rookie year. But he is not the same kind of player. And this is why the whole it's not Madden thing comes into play. He might be right now, right this second, if about 25 NFL teams could pick between him and last year's version of Juju, to even taking aside health, I think maybe 20 to 25 teams would take Rice. But when you have the very specific needs that the Chiefs have, him not being able to necessarily grasp everything he needs to be doing becomes all the more problematic. It would be way less problematic, honestly, although their slot snaps would kind of overlap. But let's say they still had Juju, or maybe had they gone out and signed Jacoby Myers for $11 million a year to play a lot of those boundary snaps, then suddenly Rice's limitations wouldn't matter nearly as much.
Right.
Because you're not asking them to do these things.
Correct.
But they didn't do that.
I just wanted to double check this on Next Gen Stats, and I did. Josh, do you remember the Chiefs' largest gain of the day on offense?
Was it Richie James?
Yes, it was a 45-yard pass.
Yeah.
Was there pre-snap
Mills
motion?
concept.
Yeah. Was there pre-snap?
Posting.
Was there pre-snap motion on that play, fellas?
Nate, I'd just be guessing, but if I was guessing, I'd guess no.
Guess what, guys? It wasn't even hurry up. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. They got in the huddle. They lined up. Ball was snapped. 1, 2, 3. Sit back. Good pocket. Delivered on time. Run after the catch. 45 yards.
I bet my life that they were playing some variant of cover 2 there.
It looks very cover 2-ish. You can maybe say quarters, based on the pre-snap look. But yeah,
Okay.
I'll roll the dots one more time here as I look at it
Mills,
live.
right? You got a post deep that drags him there, and then a dig underneath.
And a dig, yeah, and a
Richie
deep
James
dig.
has run that route combination 1,000 times in his career. And
Yeah,
honestly,
Travis Kelce, takes the 2 guys on the left side, and yeah, it looks a little quarter-ishy, little four drop, 4 deep drop. But yeah, you can say cover 2, you can say quarters. There's not really an invert on this play either.
it's middle field open.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's no safety in the middle of the field, right? That's the
Correct.
biggest difference between some of these things.
Yeah.
Is you got middle field closed and middle field open. It's closed when you've got a safety back there.
Correct.
Right? And so
pre-snap, I would say pre-snap it looks very cover 2-ish. And then post-snap as the dots go one more time, it looks a little cover 2, but they're also playing deeper based on the down and distance in the situation.
Right. So that's one thing that I'm curious about. They have, I think, simplified certain aspects of the offense, but things like this, just start running some staples, man.
Yeah.
Start running some staples.
They can't do the staple stuff either, though, right? I mean, that's something I think you wrote about a little bit today.
Right. And that's what's been problematic with Rice and with Tony and Moore previously, and with, honestly, MVS, that running the staples have been problematic. They're not just lining up. It's like, all right, let's just run mesh. Why don't we let's just run a simple mesh? And their spacing is bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their timing is bad. But I do think you take away Patrick Mahomes at a point in his career. I had someone tell me something kind of interesting, someone who would know, and he wasn't willing to tell me much more, that Mahomes is at a point in his career that he can ID man versus zone without the motion. And Andy's doing other things.
I'm sorry, what? Tell me more, Seth.
Now, this isn't someone who's like Mahomes. This isn't a Chiefs coach. This is just someone who knows ball that I trust.
Why did Pat Mahomes Sr. tell you this?
Stop it. Anyway, so it's just the idea being that Reed, and this is someone who would maybe know more about Reed than Mahomes, that Reed utilizes these motions not just to tell man.
Why did Eric Bieniemy tell you this?
But to ID a bunch of other things. I hate you so much. Sorry,
you should finish this. This sounds like it's going to be a great anecdote, and I
think Mike Kafka called in. Whoa!
Speaking of which, is their coaching staff going to get completed after this year? Because
possibly.
Kafka,
that would be nice.
Hey man, Mike Kafka made Mike DeVito look like a god for a month. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll take Daboll too at this point. Honestly, I mean, I'm open.
Well, no, give me people from outside the circle, because Andy Reid's a great coach, but sometimes you can end up in a closed loop.
All right, so this isn't a setup. This isn't a bit. Tell us, what did Mike Holmgren tell you?
So basically, the long and short of it is that Reid doesn't necessarily use his motions just to ID man versus zone, because these got other ways of telling that. And Mahomes has been doing this long enough to know. Like, you can generally tell from the alignment, and he's always reading the defense post snap. He's always watching the safeties when he starts. That's why sometimes people are like, oh, he looked him off. It's like, well, no, he's watching the safety to see where he drops. That's why it's so weird that he missed them dropping into single high after showing two high. And so I don't know necessarily. And I was like, what is he using it for then? And that's the answer I didn't get, which is really frustrating. And maybe whatever it is he thinks he's gleaning from that is so valuable, he's not willing to give it up. But that's where, like, say, like Richie James. Okay, he doesn't know where to motion to. Then line him up in the slot and run Mills. You don't need to, hey, what we're going to do here, we're going to have you run a half moon orbit motion first. Well, for one, maybe he's tired. Crap. Like, not everyone's Tyreek Hill and can run 1,000 miles every single game. Remember when the Chris Harris Jr. was like, good God, I've never been that tired after a game in my life. Like, chasing that guy around. That Tyreek Hill can probably run a 5-minute mile after running like 8 other miles. But not everyone can do that. I'm fully with Nate on this. That's one way to simplify in a really simple way.
Yeah.
Is just
Line
chill.
up. Just line
Now,
up and play.
Still, now all the best offenses in the league overall use motion.
Correct. But
you
again,
use some of it. Use Travis.
But again,
Right. I was gonna say that.
but
I know he's tired.
He's
but
tired. Yeah.
he can walk 5 steps if you need to see something.
But again, Nate Tice is saying there's multiple times breaking the huddle where Patrick Mahomes has to tell Isaiah Pacheco what the play is. There's multiple times where Richie James. That's right. I'm supposed to be motion. Hey, Rasheed. By the way, it's over here, dog. Over here. And Marquez, separate a little, flatten out more. Go more to the boundary. All right, here we go. Let me identify the mic. All right, bring me down, Kelce. I mean, there's they have not played a game where they haven't had a pre-snap penalty this season. Think about that. They lead the league in penalties, and a sizable chunk is pre-snap.
So can I belabor a point here that
Sure.
we have absolutely, this is, as we used to say, I'm feeding a fed horse here, but I'm going to tweak it just a smidge because of the things you guys have talked about for so much of this show. They lost to injury unexpectedly, Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, and coming into this game. I say unexpectedly for Kadarius Toney. Was also like a little bit part of the game. What did they think was going to happen, guys? If you're saying like, hey, this is just a bunch of dudes, like this is, Nate Tice had also several tweets during the game of it just being like the lowest collective group football IQ for skill position players, never always doing the pointing routine and all of that. Like, I also was listening to the Athletic Football Show earlier today, and I heard that again. I was like, this is good stuff and bad news.
Yep.
But this isn't that they lost Juju in week 4, and now Rashee Rice is like, oh, I don't know where to be, and I'm supposed to be Juju, and I'm sorry, but I'm not. The entire group, except for the rookie who's getting schemed up touches and doing a good job with them, this entire group, and then I guess Richie James, this whole group, these dudes were all here last year. These guys were all in training camp last year and also training camp this year. Correct. Those grueling Andy Reid camps where you get through so much stuff so you don't have stupid mental mistakes in, I don't know, September, October, November, December, January. I'm going to go ahead and assume that one shows up in January. That to me,
they're working on it.
They're just a tick off. And if they could just tick back on again, we're not even going to remember these conversations. But that's
Can I be honest?
Yeah, please. Always.
Ted Cruz, the head of the Chiefs public relations staff, always alerts reporters in the locker room when Andy Reid is going to his press conference. It's a courtesy. They don't have to do that, but they do. So nice. I think I was with Wanye Morris when this was happening, and it was like, hey, just so everybody knows, Coach is going into the press conference room, and the Chiefs policy is once Coach is in the room, the door closes. They don't really want people coming in and out, just so obviously things could be a little bit more orderly. Do you think I went into the press conference room, or do you think I stayed in the locker room?
I think you stayed in the locker room.
Of course I stayed in the locker room because it's week 16, and unless he's going to light the refs on fire, I kind of know what he's going to say.
You nailed it. I'm guessing whatever you thought was exactly what he said.
Yeah, by and large. So they're working on it is true. They're just a tick off. For the most part, is true, but
there's a variant of truth in that.
Yeah. But the beauty of football is if one person makes a mistake, we either go backwards or somebody gets hurt.
Yep.
And I cannot get that out of my mind. I know this is my one defensive note, by the way. They tried it. Cool. I actually love that Steve Spagnuolo experimented in this way, but we now have the answer, to me at least. If it's a gotta have it situation late in the fourth quarter in January, Leo Chenal cannot be on the field. He cannot.
Drew Tranquil was fourth in linebacker snaps by a lot. I know the Raiders did not want to throw the football. I get it.
Correct. But it didn't matter because you knew they were running the ball. They knew they were running the ball. Yep. And they used Leo Chenal as like a 5-down lineman kind of player, and it did not matter. And by the way, who's a better tackler between Leo Chenal and Drew Tranquil?
Tranquil. Like you mean like a wrap up tackle? Leo Chanel's an
Any
incredible
tackle.
athlete.
Any
He's
tackle.
explosive.
Any
But
tackle.
I need Drew Tranquill had a nice tackle on the boundary. I was like, they made the tackle. Oh, it's Drew Tranquill. And then I didn't see him again.
Now look, was Nick Bolton kind of put in a bind because he was like, I could shoot the B gap, but he might cut to the C gap? Yeah. You know why Nick Bolton was put in a bind? Because Leo Chenal was getting moved because he's not a defensive lineman, even though you put him in a 5-down front. Also, what you learned is Drew Tranquill needs to be on the field. He just has to. And got to have it situations in the second half or got to get a stop to give the offense at least a chance. It's got to be Drew Tranquill. It cannot be Leo Chenal. I love the fact that they gave Leo Chenal a chance when you knew they were running the ball and they were never passing it. But they failed, and now you've learned something, and you can use that. You can use that lesson for your own experience moving forward. That's my one defensive note. It's crazy that I rewatched that entire game. I was like, I got no notes. And I was like, oh, there's a note. Oh, it's Leo Chenal. Hey, Leo, if you want to eat ribs all off season, by all means, go do it, dog. If they tell you to play more traditional linebacker, great. You are a very good, serviceable, rotational linebacker. What you not going to do is get in this 2 tight end personnel and act like you're going to move people, because you're not. And the other team knows that. And now Nick Bolton's got to overcompensate for the fact that, like, you're just out of place because you got moved. And, like, it happened on back-to-back plays. And it was bad. But, hey, I appreciate that they tried. So, hey, now you know who your 3 best linebackers are in passing downs and running downs. The best part of all of this is they tried everything, guys. They tried everything. Tommy Townsend threw the best pass of the entire game because they needed wake up juice. And the only wake up juice they could have was, hey, let's have Tommy throw it. For Harrison Butker to say, why don't I poo-poo on all of that and miss a less than 40-yard field goal before halftime so that no one feels good going into the locker room? How about I do that? Guys, they tried everything. They tried.
If he kicks that, by the way, they don't have to go for it on 4th and longer in the goal to go.
Right.
And there's a lot of things going to happen if he makes that field goal.
They tried everything, but none of it worked. They also try, hey, you know what they're not going to expect after we score on a trick play? Another trick play. They tried everything. Hey, let's go 2 tight ends. Freak, we can't block them. All right, let's go spread. Freak. She Rice is not in the right spot. All right, let's go to Pacheco. Ugh. All right, medical table took him out. Let's go to Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Isaiah Pacheco's 3 biggest hits of the day came from his chin strap, Creed Humphrey's knee, and the medical table.
I'm not laughing at his circumstances, sadly.
I don't want to put the equipment staff on blast because it seems like they do a pretty good job, and it's probably just an Isaiah Pacheco thing. But hey, can we just check his chin strap? He got concussed because his head was bare and he got kneed by Creed Humphrey.
Hey, Tucker, put Steve Cashman on blast here. Steve Cashman tells me that Bolton missed the tackle, but yeah, Leo. You want to know why Nick Bolton missed the tackle? Because he has to overcompensate for Leo Chenal getting blown out of the hole. What are you talking about, Steve?
By a tight end.
Yeah, multiple people can have bad plays on the same play. In fact, almost every Chiefs offensive play goes that way.
Nick Bolton's responsibility is not to go to the C gap. His assumption is we're going to close off the running lanes and I'm going to get a one-on-one, not why is he cutting wide? Because, there's a gigantic hole. Like, what are we talking about?
And the fairness of this is, oh, man, I'm going to make it.
I am really hot today for some
So
reason. I don't even know why.
You're holding the mic.
Leo got squeezed too far inside.
Yes.
Okay. And if Nick Bolton were a little faster.
Right. Right.
Those are just, it's just how it works. But that's where the lever gets pulled. And you can either get there or you can't.
Right.
I don't understand why. I mean, Leo has shown he's strong at the point of attack before. So they're trying something. And look, it really is tough because really, I believe Nick Bolton it was who, after the game, talked about not getting the offense the ball back at the end. And like, did someone be like, dude, no one's blaming you guys. Like,
yeah, right.
You got them the ball back like 7 times before that. Like, You got them the ball.
Hey,
You gave
the
up
reason-
fewer points
the
than
reason-
the offense
Yes.
did.
The
by
reason
a
you're in the
mile.
situation is because of those dudes.
Yeah, like that is kind of funny though. Like
Right.
just the idea, like I do appreciate that about Nick Bolton. He's like, we should have gotten the ball back. It's like, dude, no one is blaming the defense for this.
No
The
one.
offense could have
I'm
just
just saying.
chucked the ball at the ground on multiple plays and done less damage.
Every unit can improve from a game. All I'm telling you is it's amazing that I only have one note for them to improve upon.
Yeah.
What?
No, they were so good. This defense, it does genuinely make me mad. It's kind of a testament to either Spags coaching or the leadership they have on the defensive side of the ball, or the fact that the offense has, been carrying the team for a long time.
Right.
Although I'm going to go to my grave arguing that the 2022 playoffs, the defense got them to the Super Bowl, and then the offense won it because Jalen Hurts had like an out of body experience where he was like the best quarterback I've ever seen for a while. That was crazy. But like, it really is the defense, the fact that the fractures we're seeing, the mental breaks in games where you're seeing normally disciplined people start, like Mahomes, start yelling and getting upset, which, by the way, I don't mind that he yelled at the offensive line. My understanding is that there was some like positive in it too. Like, you guys are better than this.
Yeah.
It's just so Patrick Mahomes.
Mhm.
That was before the mental break.
The pick six broke him. The pick six was like, well, that was in structure, and look what it got me.
Yep.
Great.
And that was just such a bad decision.
Yep.
Like, it really is. It's a testament to the team, to the team's leadership. Now, there's a lot of stuff. The coaching staff needs to, like, the lack of discipline, that's on the team leadership too.
Yeah.
On the offensive, where they line up and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, from a top-down thing, the fact that the defense, like that Chris Jones hasn't come to a presser and said, I don't know why you're asking me questions. They couldn't block me all day, and they couldn't. Like, but that is where the coaching staff on the Raiders, they saw how those first couple drives went, and we're like, holy crap, we cannot block that guy, like, at all. So we got to do something different. And then there were the Chiefs.
Here's my pop psychology for you real quick.
Go
This
for
is
it.
this is not in the locker room. This is coming from a person who has 2 ears on every Chiefs press conference pretty much all the time, and someone who has a special affinity for assistant coach day. I like assistant coach day. It's a long day of pressers, but I like hearing from the positional coaches and kind of some of the stuff that they are specifically able to talk about. But this year, it has not been the specifics that have interested me. It's the vibes. Steve Spagnuolo and Joe Cullen, and maybe more than anybody, Dave effing Merritt. I love Dave Merritt. I would listen to him do press conferences as often as possible. Nobody else hired him to be a defensive coordinator. He'd probably be bad at it. I'm lying because I don't want other teams to hire Dave Merritt. I like hearing him once a month or whatever.
He is so getting hired this year.
But and Cullen has been a coordinator before. If he wants to be a coordinator again, this would be some pretty good tape to put out there and say, give me that job. I hope it doesn't happen selfishly for the Chiefs. And I hope they both like being in Kansas City enough to turn down some okay offers. But man, you listen to those guys, and some of the other defensive assistants follow suit, but they're more in the middle. But man, I love listening to Spags, Merritt, and Cullen talk. I love it when they talk about football. I love when Dave Merritt says Shamari Connor stunk in OTAs.
He really did too.
He literally said that.
He really said that. I was like, you ain't lying, because he looked like a rookie who was like, wow, this guy's really good. Yeah, he's Patrick Mahomes. He's going to pick on you constantly, son.
And those defensive coaches have gotten the most out of those defensive players, many of them playing far beyond their draft slot or their salary number. They're doing it with injuries actually affecting them now defensively. Brian Cook being the most serious of all of those. They were doing it without Charles Omenihu for the first 6 weeks. But more than anything else, for the first time I think ever watching, Andy Reid's time in Kansas City, I get like physically, I feel bad when I think about like, what would it be like to sit in Chiefs offensive meetings all week versus what would it feel like to sit in Chiefs defensive meetings all week? Man, the results are going to hurt it, but Chiefs defensive meetings have to be a party right now. Like setting a standard, meeting that standard, one of the best defenses in football, unquestionably, And it feels like they're having fun. It feels like there are fun personalities in each of the positional groups. It feels like guys keep getting better in every positional group. It is a unit that has unfortunately only been let down and to this point wasted by the offense not being able to find any of that. On the contrary, you listen to Andy Reid and Matt Nagy and Connor Embry, and Andy Heck's been doing pressers for a long time, and he obviously played and all of that, but there is a sort of, and I don't know that it's going like this in meeting rooms, but at the podium, the offense has this monotone sleepiness to it that just feels like a bunch of guys working really hard and getting no answers and getting no better. And the defense is just, they know how good they are, and they're going to keep getting better, and they know how good they have to be to win anything. And that purely vibes analysis, but that has been palpable all year, and this last week it was clear all over again. And I don't know how you dig out of that, but there is a self-conscious frustration in the offense and a swaggering, excellent defensive unit. And it just seems like that comes through even public facing at the podium. There's my pop psychology for that.
That's a really good point. And I do think it goes a little bit towards not excuses, okay? But the why. Because there's a difference between a reason and an excuse.
Yep.
The reason that the personnel issues that they've had, I think they made some bets. I think they really did. I don't think they thought Kadarius Toney was a number one receiver like they were saying, but I did think they thought he was a heck of a number two receiver. I think they thought Sky Moore was a heck of a number two receiver. And watching your bets go, and then watching your reliable veteran, one of the things I wrote this week was it's like they lost 2021 MVS. They didn't just lose Juju Smith-Schuster. They lost 2021 MVS too because he's played markedly worse. They lost both their veteran receivers somehow. How that happens is beyond me. But that would explain also the frustration and the vibe and the just all of those, the repo man coming for those cards. Chris Shrimp, good comment. That was funny. The number of
CBS picked the right moment to be like, and if you didn't know, Patrick, after yelling at his offensive lineman, got him cards.
The number of I swear to God, I will take these cards from every one of you at halftime. Those were so funny. The internet's undefeated. Josh, I just really quick, do you guys want to hear a stat that'll make you mad?
Sure.
Yeah, love it.
I just want to double check my math here.
Okay.
Yep, I am correct. If the Chiefs, what do you think the Chiefs' record would be?
Oh no.
If they averaged the number of points of any other year they've averaged during the Patrick Mahomes era?
They'd probably be like 15-2.
I'm going to say one. I'm going to say one loss.
I would say right now they'd be.
How many games have they played?
They've played 15 so far. I would say they'd be 13-2.
They would be 15-0.
Yikes!
Dang it! Unbelievable.
Yikes.
The most points they lost when the Lions scored 21.
Yep.
They lost when Denver scored 24.
On 5
they
turnovers.
Lost when Philly scored 21. They lost
on a fumble and a drop
points.
touchdown pass.
Yep. They lost when the Packers scored 27, which that's the most points they've given
probably
up
the
this
most
year.
That's probably the most legit performance someone's put together. And we talked about it too, about how Matt LaFleur kind of figured some things out that no one had shown so far.
Yep,
Yes.
and that was LaFleur did a great job.
Yes.
They really did a good job there. But really, they lost to the Buffalo. Buffalo scored
the Kadarius
20
Toney, the Kadarius Toney game, as I like to suggest.
You remember up until like last year? No, up until 2021, Mahomes had never lost to a team that scored like under 22 points or something like that.
Right, yes.
They would be undefeated. Their worst they've ever scored in points per game was 28.2 before this year. That they would be undefeated.
That's nuts and makes me sad.
That's so bad. I just realized that as I was looking, I was like, man, no one scored more than 27, and they've lost 5 games. They've lost 6 games. No, 5 games.
Also,
6.
No, it's 6.
Yeah, they've lost 6. It's the most losses in a single season with Patrick Mahomes as their starter. And also, let's not forget in the Green Bay game,
these suckers left.
Just remember in the Green Bay game in the fourth quarter, 3 and out when they could have taken the lead, interception when they could have taken the lead.
Yep.
And missed defensive pass interference when they could have tied the game.
It's been every one of these games. It's so funny. And this is losing close games is something that bad offenses do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't come back.
And what?
So I'm really sorry. I think I jumped into it, but I had this horrifying realization as I was watching this. I was like, hey, any other year, they are now. Obviously, the average isn't what you put up every week. I get that, but that's just hilarious to me.
You're also giving them 0 30-point games to bail out the defense.
Right.
Just
Yeah,
28.
they didn't need one. The most points they needed was 28. And also, had the offense been better against the Packers, it would have been harder for the Packers to score. It's a complimentary game.
Yes,
you keep giving them the ball back, and they score more points.
You want to know another stat that is I think the stat that's mostly a reflection of Matt Nagy? Per Next Gen Stats, Patrick Mahomes attempted, let me get this right. Yesterday's game, kids. Patrick Mahomes, and by the way, I think this goes against our normal conventions. Patrick Mahomes for the remainder of the year should not be throwing the ball 44 times. He should not. Can't do it. Not with this group.
Now when you got to get touches for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Michael Pirine, and
that's
Larry
right,
Prince.
baby. That's right. Manufacture it. I don't care how it gets done.
This is the Kadarius Toney running back time, by the way, you guys.
Right.
Right.
We've
all given up on him as a receiver.
Where are the jet sweeps? Where are the end arounds? Something
Pick
to
it up the A gap, see what happens.
Right. So 44 attempts by Patrick Mahomes. Per Next Gen Stats, 18 of the 44 were passes attempted at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage.
I thought it was 15, so I wasn't even ready for that.
18 attempts yesterday was at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. Again, you cannot throw the football deep, and when the pass is actually completed, they still have to get positive yards. That is something that Matt Nagy leaned on a lot in Chicago, and I do think that's the one criticism you can put on him. Hey, if we can tell on 44 attempts that almost half of them will not go past the line of scrimmage, it simplifies the game for the defense.
And the rest of them will not go more than 10 yards downfield, so that
which also
really
simplifies it for the defense.
Yes.
And I'm convinced that, and the second thing I'll say, I'm convinced that trick play is designed for Travis Kelce. Guys, watch Robert Spillane on the fumble recovery for a touchdown. He has no idea what the bleep is going on. It is supposed to be, and I will get in my best imitation, but Patrick is obviously, they start to play with Patrick under the center in shotgun. Then he shifts to the right for the direct snap to Pacheco. Now, Pacheco is supposed to give an RPO look. Patrick's supposed to take the handoff like he normally would if he was a running back, and then he's supposed to spin out of that thing and throw it deep. Okay? Now, CBS does not show this on a spider cam. Can't wait to see it on all 22. But it's supposed to be a spin rollout to the right for Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce, well, most coaches would tell you run trick plays from the middle of the field further to the inside.
Wrong.
Yeah.
if you're a worry wart.
Yep. I remember Bill Coward always used to say, we won't do any trick plays unless we're past our own 40-yard line. That was always his baseline for running trick plays. And you can look it up, kids. They ran a trick play in the Super Bowl when they won the Super Bowl against the Seattle Seahawks. So it is an admission of the coaching staff that we have to gin up nonsense to get anybody open downfield. We have to do misdirection, creativity, razzle-dazzle to get our Hall of Fame tight end open downfield. That is an admission that they told you yesterday on Christmas. We have to do an RPO interchangeable switching of the position so the quarterback could get a handoff so that he could spin around, roll to his right so that Travis Kelce would be open 15 to 18 yards in the middle of the field. And guess what, kids? He was so wide open.
Oh, crap.
He was.
I knew you were going to end with that.
Robert Spillane still doesn't know where Travis Kelce is because he's saying, what in the hell are they doing? And Kelce runs right by him.
By the time he figured it out, the Raiders had scored a touchdown.
Yep. And so it's, again, I love football because in some ways, Robert Spillane messed up, and yet he was still right. Because you know what he did? He stood as a statue. I don't know what's happening. I ain't messing it up. I'm going to just stand right here. Okay? I'm the middle linebacker. I am in the middle of the field doing nothing. But when you can't get the handoff right, it's not great. So can they lean on the trick plays? Yes, but also no. Can they lean on the pre-snap motion? Yes, but no. Can they lean on the fact that, hey, guys, if we just don't turn over the ball, we might win? Yes, but they've only had 2 games where they didn't turn the football over. So put that in the, lever formula. Just go into the game pulling down a turnover. Just expect the Chiefs to give the ball to the opponent at least one time today. Pull it down before kickoff.
And if you want to inject the appropriate level of how infuriated you'll feel, just have someone hide the remote from you for a little while. That way you can get the same emotions, have the same result, and then,
So, again, sometimes the coaching staff calls the right play in a backwards way, and then the players screw up. Sometimes the offensive line blocks the 4-man rush, and then the quarterback escapes for no reason. Sometimes the quarterback goes into creation mode, and his receivers just stop running. It was so strange. Like, I also know why he doesn't trust Marquez Valdes-Scantling, because he goes into creation mode, and Marquez does not run with. He doesn't find open space. He doesn't run with any urgency. He does not show his hands or raise his hand for the quarterback to see him scramble. He also doesn't, and I cannot stress this enough, fight for the football. Again, Patrick Mahomes is doing a stupid thing. On 1st and 10, he's leaving a pocket he shouldn't leave. Then he's going to backpedal into a flat-footed, fall on his back, just heave at the boundary, and we can't tell if it's for Noah Gray or if it's for MVS. But MVS could help us if he ran for the ball. But no, Marquez Valdes-Scantling sees the ball go up in the air and he stops running. So again, Patrick,
that was so bad.
He's on the team, guys. He can't. We got to use him. But also, I can see why you don't throw him the ball no more.
I don't know what you're referring to.
That'll do it for our edition of Only Weird Games here today.
I don't know what you're referring to, says
Marquez
Valdes-Scantling.
Is that who that was?
Oh, that's who that was. Don't know what you're referring to. I don't know, man. You're having kind of the most disappointing season of your career. And again, I look forward to talking to Marquez Valdes-Scantling this week because I know they have to use him. And he knows they have to use him. But also, what you gonna do? Like, I really hope I get to talk to Marquez because I'm fascinated to know you guys are probably guaranteed to go to the playoffs. And you, like, your best game, you blacked out, dog. You blacked out. It's one of the greatest blackouts I've ever seen, said a black man. Awesome. But also, are you going to black out again? Is it still in you? You still got it? What they do? Like, what can you do for Pat to ingratiate more trust, to ingratiate more equity? To get him back in the mood, in the groove, baby. It's a two-way street. You running routes for the quarterback. Make it sexy. How you gonna make it sexy for him? Okay. How you gonna open it up? Okay. How you gonna let him know that when all else fails, I'm here? How you gonna do it? How you gonna do it? You gotta do it. They played you 60 snaps, Marquez, and you went sex it up one time. How you gonna do it? How?
Football, but make it sexy.
Make it sexy, baby.